So if I think my path, my journey, has not been in a straight line. I went to 14 schools from high school all the way through to university. I can't believe that I got so lucky. I started to somehow turn stress and anxiety into a feeling of gratitude. WTF? Who envisions themselves at 4.5 years being in the junk removal business and then actually does it? How's it going? Last time I was in this building was about 30 years ago, right around when I started my company, and I was here for an Ice House concert, some British band, so it's good to be back. It was a long time. I am here today to talk about a WTF culture. Now, how many of you, just to make sure our marketing's working, show of hands, who's heard of 1-800-GOT-JUNK? Okay, so I won't explain the business. I apologize for our radio commercials. That's my voice. You're going to hear a little more for about half an hour. So let me talk to you a bit about my story. I'm Brian Scudamore. I'm the founder and CEO of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, a 30-year journey. I want you to think for a minute. I'm going to take you into a moment that might feel uncomfortable for you, not for me. Think of a failure, something you've done recently where you failed. You thinking? Now think of the biggest flop you've ever had. You're going, this isn't a fun exercise. But I want you to think of that moment, because while that might not be fun, what if it could be? What if failure could be your friend? In my near 30-year journey of building my business, the biggest aha moment I've ever had in my entire career was when I discovered that failure was indeed my friend. And so I developed an attitude called WTF. And what WTF really stands for to me is willing to fail. Having that sense that you will learn and the power behind your failed moments are necessary to get to your success. So if I think my path, my journey, has not been in a straight line, I'm pretty certain as a human being in this audience that your journey towards success will not be a straight line either. So what is WTF? It's having the courage to say, when I'm going to dive in, go all in growing a business, in making a mistake. One of the first WTF moments I ever had was I was in university, and I was going to college in Vancouver. I was actually born in San Francisco, so it's kind of nice to be home. But I went to school. All right, someone here loves San Francisco. So I moved to Vancouver. Went to university. If you want me to do a quick resume on my college and high school education, I went to 14 schools from high school all the way through to university. I never graduated from high school. I talked my way into college, as entrepreneurs are good at doing. The only diploma, true story, that I have is kindergarten. So proud. So are my parents. If I think of one of the first WTF moments, you can imagine as my dad's oldest son sitting down one day and saying, Dad, I've started a business. I was in a McDonald's drive-thru looking for a way to pay for college. I see this old beat-up pickup truck. It said Mark's Hauling on the side, filled with junk, trying to figure out how I'm going to pay for college, having talked my way in. I buy a truck, $700, a few $100 on flyers, business cards, and off I go. And I start creating this business, and during school, my business got in the way. I was learning much more about business running a company more than I was studying from professors, a marketing professor that I remember had no business experience. So I made the bold decision to drop out. So that first WTF moment, sitting down with my dad. Now here's my dad, who's a liver transplant surgeon, done more school than anybody I know. I sit down with him and I go, Dad, I got some awesome news for you. And he goes, what is it? He's all excited. And I said, I'm dropping out of school to become a full-time junk man. And he's like, how is that good news? And I said, because I'm learning so much building a business, more than studying in school. And I'm going to take the courage to put everything on the line. I'm willing to fail and make this work. Thank you. So my father thought I was crazy for about 15 years, okay? He's on side now. We're good friends. Everything's fine. Let me take you back to the beginning of my 30-year journey. That's a photo. That's a photo of me. Actually, it's a photo of a drawing I did of me. True story. This is a self-portrait that I did at 4.5 years old. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner, I signed my name, Brian. My grandparents, they were the ones that gave me my entrepreneurial spark. God bless them both. They both passed on. But they had an Army surplus store just south of Mission, 2 blocks from here. It was called Gerber Surplus. I would come down after I moved to Canada, and every summer vacation, every Christmas, I'd go work in their store. And I loved working in their store because I got to play the game of business, and it just lit this passion in me. When my grandmother passed away, I was about 30 years old, and we clean out her house. I find this binder that says Brian's Drawings, and this one's inside. And I mean, every time I say it, I literally get chills. I look at that and I go, WTF, who envisions themselves at 4.5 years being in the junk removal business and then actually does it? I mean, am I psychic? Am I crazy? I mean, yeah, I got issues. We all do. I'm in therapy. But I look at this and I'm like, what is going on? You can't tell the slides got changed here, but it's actually in our blue colors, the exact same blue we use for 1-800-GOT-JUNK today. Wearing a hat like we do with our uniforms, sweeping up junk. Now, the one part, though, that perplexed me, still kind of a little bit to this day, do you notice off to the right on the road behind me a little broken heart? What's up with the broken heart? I could give you my mom's cell phone number. You could call her up and say, did Brian have a bad childhood? She'd say, absolutely not. Let me take you to 20 years forward. What was with the broken heart? So what was going on here? So I dropped out of university, conversation with my dad. This is about a year later. This was actually on the front page of the Vancouver Province, the largest newspaper in Vancouver. I remember we rang up the press. My girlfriend at the time said, you got a pretty cool story. And I'm like, you're my girlfriend. Of course you think I have a cool story. What is it? She said, call the press and tell them you were trying to find a way to pay for college. It was a tough summer job market in '93, so you started your own business. So we started our business. That was a partner I brought in for about a year till that didn't work out. But I'm front page, Vancouver Province. The bus drivers the next day were waving their newspaper out the window going, wow, you guys are awesome. And we felt like rock stars, 100 phone calls, all these jobs the next day. Side story, because I'm ADD and I tend to do this, so bear with me. The red paint. We ran out of red paint. We were a startup on a shoestring. I found a can of blue paint in the shed. You do what you got to do. So what was happening at this time in the business? Left university. My dad was pissed off at me beyond belief. I was trying to learn, but I was like, am I really building the right business here? I don't have an education. All my friends are still in college and university. What am I going to do? So I joined an organization called EO. It used to be called YEO, the Young Entrepreneur Organization, about 10,000 members worldwide. Everybody started to age, so they dropped the Y. It's now just EO. I'm a proud member of EO. But the entrepreneur organization for me became my way to educate myself. If I couldn't get a real MBA, I created my own. I called it my Mentor Board of Advisors. I'm the guy that reads a book and calls up the author and said, I'd love to pick your brains. I'm the guy that goes into Starbucks and goes, wow, this is such a great place. I got to meet Howard Schultz, and I call him up. I'm always wanting to learn, and EO became my way of learning. So I start to learn, and I made a mistake. I made a WTF moment where I started to compare myself to others. And if you've ever done it, it's a terrible thing to do. I don't recommend it. I started to look at all these other people in EO, and I said, they've got $10 million businesses. They've got $100 million businesses. It took me 8 years to get to $1 million in revenue. It was an awful long time. And I thought, everybody's got bigger businesses, more glamorous, sexy industries than junk removal. What am I doing? And I said, okay, I'm gonna learn from this group. They're gonna be my mentors. I'm gonna stop comparing myself to others. So this WTF moment led me to, actually this reminds me of my parents' dock. My parents had a summer cottage, and I learned from EO, when you're having a hard time, when you're trying to solve a problem, you go take a retreat. So I'm gonna put this down and sit at the edge of my parents' dock at their summer cottage here. So I go to their dock. I take out a sheet of paper, one page, double-sided, plain sheet, and I go, I've just wrestled with, for the past few years, panic attacks, anxiety, I'm not having fun. What was this broken heart? The broken heart was me going, I'm comparing myself to others, I'm not happy, I'm feeling the stress, and I realized I was no longer this ADD, I'm still ADD, but no longer an ADD junk man who happened to start this business and have some luck and success growing it. But what I said is, I'm making mistakes, I'm learning, I'm having fun, I'm gonna get myself out of this doom loop, and I'm going to take a sheet of paper, and I'm gonna write out pure possibility. Instead of getting drowned in all the doom and all the problems I was having, what's the pure possibility? What's the hope? What could this become if only I applied myself? It was a message I heard in high school and university, or in elementary school. If only Brian applied himself. So I was gonna apply myself. I took out this sheet of paper. It was like a Jerry Maguire moment, if you've seen that movie. One page, I feverishly wrote out my vision for the future. 5 years, what could it look like if I stopped thinking about bad stuff? I said we'd be in the top 30 metros in North America, because there was one city, Vancouver, where we started. We were gonna be in every city at least as big. We would be the FedEx of junk removal, on-time service, upfront rates, clean, shiny trucks, friendly uniformed drivers. We were far from that at this point, but I said that's where we're going to be. I even said we'd be on the Oprah Winfrey Show. I mean, how does that happen? A junk man, you can't get on the Oprah Winfrey Show. So I took this sheet of paper and I started to share it with everybody around me. And what it did is it took me out of this position of, I can't do this, to I see possibility, and what could it look like? So what ended up happening is I had two camps of people when I shared it. I shared it with my parents, my friends, family, everyone around me, and all my employees. And when I started sharing it with people, they did one of two things. Half the group said, I don't know what kind of hope dope you're smoking, but this ain't gonna happen. The other half of the group said, wow, this is pretty cool. I see what you see, and I want to be a part of it. So off I went to take this painted picture and try and make things happen. We got on the Oprah Winfrey Show. We built the FedEx of junk removal, and we ended up in the top 30 metros in North America. Now, did I crystal ball the future? Absolutely not. I painted a picture. I didn't know how I was going to get to where I was going, but I knew where I was going, and I could see the vision in my mind. So let me take you for a minute. The vision happened. We made great things happen. We've got 4 brands today. I'm loving life. But let me take you through some of the biggest WTF moments, and let me take you through some of the learnings that I've had from those moments. So WTF moment number 1, this was probably the most painful one I had at the time. I had 11 employees. 1994, so about 2 years after this Vancouver province photo. We had 5 trucks. I'd bought my partner out because he just wasn't working, literally. I took the 5 trucks, $500,000 in revenue, and I said, okay, I got 11 employees, but you've heard the expression, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch? I had 9 bad apples. How do you fix the other 2? The only thing I could think of was start from scratch. So I brought in everyone for a daily morning meeting like we always did, and I found myself not enjoying the business, not connecting with people. I was turning into a hermit. We don't have private offices today for anybody in the company, not myself, not my president, but back then I had a private office and I used to hide in it. And I was scared of my business and scared of my people, and so I finally said, morning meeting, welcome everybody. I got bad news for you, but we're gonna part ways. And I did a group firing, all 11 people at once. I said, this is my fault. As your leader, I've either found the wrong people, not treated you right, not given you the love, the support you needed to be successful. I don't know if I had the wrong people or it was me who was the wrong leader at the time, but I parted ways. Fired my entire company. Try going from 5 trucks and a full schedule of customers down to 1 truck, 1 big brick cell phone, doing all the booking, dispatching, junk removal, everything. It was a nightmare. I still don't remember to this day if it was 3 months, 6 months to fix, but it was a long time. It was a big failure. But thank goodness that failure happened, because the next day, I said, I am never going to make the same mistake again of hiring the wrong people. Now, I'm human, I've made some mistakes, but we've been very, very careful and selective to find the right people and treat them right. In fact, one of the things we did years after this mistake was we said, my company, our company, is all about people. And we put this big sign up in the front of our office for a heavily branded person who's always wearing, the branded kicks, my Toyota truck is fully wrapped. You don't see the logo right away when you come to our company. You see the sign that says it's all about people with my name below it, as a commitment to find the right people, treat them right. If I didn't have 11 bad apples and fire the whole company, I would have never had that learning. It was a WTF moment that paid off. Now imagine today we've got 500 plus people in the head office. How painful and messed up would that be, having to get rid of the entire company at that point? We have a culture when people come into the business, they're like, what's the magic? What's going on? Why is everybody smiling, having fun, an open office buzz and environment? Because we worked so hard to find the right people. So, WTF moment number 2. What do they say about hiring best friends? Don't do it. Don't hire friends, don't hire family. I hired my best friend. He was in my forum group in EO, super fun guy. He said he'd never work with me. He had left one business he was with, and I begged him to come in and do some consulting to help me out of a tight spot. We were at about $2 million in revenue, just trying to break out as a franchisor. And he came in, consulted for 3 weeks, and the magic happened. And we ended up working so well together and having so much fun that he forgot about the fact that he said he'd never work with me. He stuck it out for 7 years. Shouldn't say stuck it out. He was there for 7 years and we had a blast. But what happened at $106 million in revenue was how far we got together. Cameron, Harold, and I, we were like nitro and glycerin. I mean, you put those two together, boom, right? We were two ready, fire, aim. No, we were two fire, ready, aim. I told you I was ADD. Fire, ready, aim types that were at the top, at the helm of this company. As we grew past 75 million, 100 million, we started making mistakes where it was grave. I mean, we were starting to make financial mistakes and not being as careful hiring people and just moving too fast. It was fun, but things had to change. So I had to get rid of my best friend. And as you can imagine, firing 11 people who you don't know as well is one thing. Firing your best friend and having to say, Cameron, I know a year prior I was just the best man in your wedding. WTF? I'm sorry, but we got to do this. I knew that we couldn't together take the business any further, and we had a responsibility to our people to fix it. So I got Cameron out. Now, Cameron and I had a drink last week. We talk every other day. We're super, super close friends. He's written 3 books, which is 2 more than me. He's done all these TED Talks. He's a fantastic guy. I'm so thankful that he got me to that place of being able to make a decision that I knew was the right one, but not an easy one. See, the right decisions are generally not the easy ones, but you have to make them if you want the longevity of your career, your success, your path. So Cameron was gone. I had to then bring someone else in. I'm going to pick this up because I know I'm supposed to return it after and I'm going to forget. And I'm going to take a quick sip of water here. Play by play, talking you through what's going on in my mind. Here we go. So Cameron's out, I have to find someone else. So who do I find? I hit the jackpot. I went through a recruiter, a fancy recruiter, no names mentioned, and paid big bucks. And I found this woman who was an ex-president of Starbucks of their US operation. By coincidence, she really wanted to move back to Canada to be close to her family. So she comes in and for a massive pay cut is gonna help me build my tiny little company. Absolute jackpot. Far from it. We were about 1.5 years together, and in the first 5 months, I was like, honeymoon stage, buttery haze. This is unbelievable. I can't believe that I got so lucky. But day by day by day, I started to feel disconnected from my business. I was, I think, getting a little pushed out. If you took our visions weren't going like this, like Cameron and I. Our visions were gradually, day by day by day, getting further apart. I started to learn that I don't think she believed in me as an entrepreneur. Now, many entrepreneurs here, we're unique individuals. We've got great talents and great gifts, but we've also got great weaknesses. And I don't think she wanted to partner in the way that I needed her to for us to be successful together. So let's call it, I think, 14 months, and I had to end things. I found out that this wasn't going to work, parted ways, was faced with a constructive dismissal lawsuit. I had everybody, when they say it's lonely at the top, that was the loneliest period I've ever had in my life, because I had hundreds of employees and not one of them thought I'd made a good decision. In fact, when my employees think, my franchise partners were thinking, it's one thing to be willing to fail, but you're failing here. You are failing because you can't run the company and you just got rid of someone that we think is doing a good job. But they didn't see what I saw. And as an entrepreneur, you've got to, again, make those tough choices. I knew what I saw, I knew it wasn't working, and I knew it was going to get worse. In fact, most people didn't know at the time. Our revenue had dropped $40 million because of partially the financial meltdown in 2007, 2008. But I think it had dropped because our visions were going separate directions. And we'd almost bankrupted the business that I'd spent 20 years building. So I had to make a change. Now, I went through some darkness, probably some depression, if I'm being honest and transparent with you, and I had a hard time. It was tough. I mean, it was rough when nobody believes what you're doing. But what I said is, and it took me about 2 years to realize this, something good has to come from this. We started to rebuild the business. We got back to profitability. We had to fire 52 people, which was very tough. But in making those changes, what I realized, again, this had to happen because this would take me to where I am today. I couldn't get to where I was today if it wasn't for that failure with the ex-Starbucks president. I started to somehow turn stress and anxiety into a feeling of gratitude, and a heartfelt gratitude. I was up for an Entrepreneur of the Year award with Ernst & Young. I was a finalist. We go meet the judges. There's 4 or 5 judges on the panel. Who's one of the judges? My ex-president. There's no way this is going to happen. I knew one of the judges, and one of the judges later said to me, after I'd won Entrepreneur of the Year, do you know that your ex-president had nothing but nice things to say about you? And it gave me a heart filled of gratitude, realizing we were just 2 people that weren't meant to work together. She's gone on to be way more successful than she ever would had she been in my company. And I've gone on to be more successful without her than I would have been with her. How awesome is that? How grateful should I be because I got the learning? Now, here's where the gratitude really sunk in, because it took me to, and it's so hard when you're in a moment of failure to go, do I really believe what Brian says about WTF, that you got to be willing to fail? Hell yeah, because if you don't learn, you don't grow, and your business and your personal life will never get better. So I looked at myself and I said, what am I going to learn from this? I'm going to understand why this person was the wrong person for me, and I'm going to envision what's the right person for me. So I took a sheet of paper out, love to do that, drew a line down the middle, and on one side I wrote all the things in a company that I do that I'm good at, that I love to do. On the other side of the sheet, I wrote all the things that I'm bad at and I really, really, really don't like to do. Much bigger list. Those things had to happen, though, for the company to be successful. So I said, I'm going to find the right entrepreneur/partner president for me. So I started shopping around. I sent in LinkedIn emails to everybody I knew. I was on planes back and forth across the country, Canada and the US. 75 COOs I interviewed. Now, I was going to get this right for the 3rd time, right? I had a friend the first time, worked out, got us to a point, big failure. The 3rd time, I'm going to get it right, and it's going to be forever. So like a marriage, I invested. I went through the courtship. I went back and forth with this one person I met. Now, the person who is our president today has been around 7 years, and that person is Eric Church, not the country musician. I'm not that lucky, but he's pretty awesome. But I went out there and I found this guy, and the way I did it is I wrote this little vision, and I described the person in such detail. I was going to be so clear on what I was looking for that if that person was out there, I was going to find him or her. This time, I get out there and I send it out, and after all my interviews and shopping around, I get 3 different people in my network, different parts of the country, independent, unrelated, completely, and they said, the person that you emailed about in your mini vision, you're so clear on, it only describes one person. They didn't send a list of 5 names of people I should talk to. They only sent me one. These 3 people all said Eric Church. I was completely blown away and surprised, and I said, I got to meet this person. When I ended up hiring Eric, because his list and my list were like yin and yang. I mean, they went so well together. And I remember one of the stories that Eric said. He goes, about 5 years ago, I was hanging out with Cameron Harold, and who was our ex-COO, first one. And they happened to have been fraternity brothers at a frat. And they got together years later, and Cameron said, are you happy doing what you're doing? Eric said, not so much. He said, well, what do you want to do? And he goes, I want to run a company like what you're running, 1-800-GOT-JUNK. So how serendipitous is that? I think that if you're so clear what you're looking for in life, it sounds airy-fairy, whatever. No, things align because you start paying attention to what you're looking for, and then you set out to find it. So Eric's been on board, and since he's been on board, we went from 100 million to 365 million this year. We've got 4 brands. We're in, Shack Shine, You Move Me, Wow One Day Painting. Everything's under this O2E brand umbrella, which is ordinary to exceptional. What we realized we do, and understanding our sweet spot, was taking ordinary businesses like junk removal and making them exceptional through customer experience. So I've talked a lot about failures. Embrace your failure. That's the one thing that if I could change in you today or inspire in you, no one needs to change anyone. If I could inspire in you is to embrace failure as your friend. Now, I've talked a lot about failures, so let me talk a little bit about successes. I believe you come here to learn, not just be inspired. So if I can share a few tools that have worked for our business. Now, I'm not saying they're going to work for you, but they've worked for me, so let me share. Anyone who's got a pen and paper, or you can plant it in your head, everything in our business, I believe, the growth of our business is a pyramid, a layer of systems, people, and vision. So the first and foremost, the key tool that I like to share is that power of a vision. Now, I shared with you my painted picture. Who crystal balls with that much detail a vision? What is a vision? It's a vision, it's a picture in your mind, the entrepreneur, the leader of where you want to be. Don't get stuck on how to get there, because that starts the downward spiral of Brian Scudamore doesn't have an education, doesn't have the money, he's got a kindergarten diploma, he's a loser, what's going to happen? This isn't going to grow. Don't have self-doubt. Start with a vision of where you are going. Don't worry about how to get there. Now, Cameron used to say to me, he goes, Brian's a visionary, I can't do vision. I said, of course you can do vision. I said, where do you want to go on vacation? If you could pick the dream vacation of a lifetime, where would you go? And he starts answering the questions. What would that look like? What's the temperature like? Who's going with you? What kind of drink is in your hand? I mean, he was down to I got a Corona with a cold lime, I'm sitting in a chair in the sand, the wind's blowing, I can hear the trees swaying. If asked the right questions, you can all come up with a vision. So you transplant yourself into the future and you think, what does my business look like in 5 years? Am I on the Oprah Winfrey show? What does it look like, feel like? Who's around you? What's the vibe? If anyone would like to see our vision, our painted picture, I'm happy to share it with other entrepreneurs. I think that's what entrepreneurs have to do and enjoy doing. Send me a note. Go to my Instagram, at Brian Scudamore. Send me a note saying, can I see your painted picture, please? And I'll also send you a step-by-step how to create one. So that's vision. Create one for yourself, but create it for everyone who surrounds you. Because what you'll see, here I am telling you like you don't know this, everybody around you matters to help you get to where you're wanting to go. This timer says 10 minutes left, and I think it's said that for about 5 minutes. It's very confusing. I'm going to keep talking and share a couple more tools. People. So I said vision. You got to have the right vision where you're going. See, it's like magic. It just changed to 5. Then you've got the layer of people. Find the right people, treat them right. Now, everyone says, how do you find the right people? For me, I say, how do you find friends? I doubt any of you, hope not, take a checklist and go, they're really funny, they like the same beer. You know when you found the right friends. Life's too busy and too short to not have great relationships. If someone lets you down and they stop showing up for that beer you're having together, you just go, okay, you move on. Do the same thing with employees. We hire on attitude, train on skill. Now, if we're hiring a CFO, they've got to have all their accounting designations, of course, but first on attitude. So how we do that, we do what we call the beer and barbecue test. Now, we're not sitting down and going, does someone drink beer and can they chug it? I mean, we're sitting down with people and we're saying, could I see myself as one person interviewing this person? Could I see them enjoying a beer or a coffee together? Are they interesting? Are they interested? Do we have something in common? Is there a shared passion for growth for what we're building? Then the barbecue test is, what would they be like at a company barbecue? We've got lots of diversity, lots of different personalities, introverts, extroverts. We're not looking for sameness. We're looking for, do they fit? Do they add to the group? Do they bring something unique? And again, a shared passion. So beer and barbecue test. Find the right people. Hire slowly, fire quickly. When you've made the wrong mistake, free up someone's future to a better place because it probably isn't with you. And then systems. I read a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. Show of hands, anyone read that book? Wow, not many people. It is the most unbelievable book. So I am a voracious, my wife is a voracious book reader. I'm a voracious book buyer. I buy them and I don't often read them, but I did read this one. I've got bookshelves. You should see them all. They're all there. I'm so proud of what I haven't read. But my E-Myth by Michael Gerber, unbelievable book. Please, please, please read it. 82-year-old man, Michael Gerber now. It's a classic. It tells you how to build your business out like a franchise, even if you don't want a franchise, which I'm sure most of you won't. It's a hard model. But if you wanted to franchise your business, franchises succeed because of systems, processes that are in place that are very replicatable. So Michael's book is all about creating systems. Now, when I talk about having failures, it's one thing to be willing to fail, but you don't want to be stupid. You don't want to go create failure over and over and over. You take systems and you document all your best practices. So one of the things we did when we started to franchise was we said, how do we take how you load the truck, how you price jobs, how you market the business, how you hire, what we look for, our values, everything. Everything had to fit on one page as one best practice. As we got better and better and better, those best practices were refined. Our franchise systems are created by our franchise partners, not us. We just get to bring it all together and say, this is what's working, this is what's not, follow the recipe. So my advice on that is systematize your business, document what works, share it with your people. Share your vision, find the right people, treat them right, and have systems that will drive your success forward. Now, in closing here, the interesting thing about failure is it's temporary, but so is success. How can anyone be happy in this world if you don't embrace the ups and the downs? I'm that guy, like a kid who's on a roller coaster, hands up going, whether I'm going up or I'm going down, I am having fun. I truly love every single day of what I do because I have amazing people surrounding me, working with me, and we get to do this together. O2E Brands has always been about building something much bigger and better together. I don't know how you all feel, but I don't love doing things alone if I can have fun with people, building a social business, and doing great things growing together. So in closing here, as I feel like I'm at the edge of the dock and I'll try not to fall in the water here, but as I close, I think back to that 20-year moment, 20 years ago, that moment when I was on my parents' dock and reflecting and going, I'm in a doom loop. This is difficult. And I created that magic painted picture and it ended up taking me on a journey to such a better place. And so if I think of success without failure, and those of you that have experienced it, success without failure is like a hollow victory. You feel like you haven't earned it. But imagine being able to tell stories, riveting stories of regret, of longing, of things just not working out as you planned, but taking those moments and building upon them in such a way that you have this powerful story and learning that you can share with the world to say, I did it, I deserved it, I earned this success. Sometimes when you're building things, you go, the best option I have is to give up. But when you refuse to give up and you endure and you make it through because you've embraced a WTF attitude, that's the success I want you to taste. That's my wish for you. And I think there's a big difference in building a living versus building a life. And so I hope all of you have as much fun building a life as I do. And thank you so much for having me. Thank you.